It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
So we've all gotten the emails from the Nigerian princes. We've all seen the Facebook, hey, send me money and I'll give you, riches of gold and silver and I'll make you wildly wealthy. We've all seen this stuff. The con games, well, they are plentiful. And as my grandfather always said, if it seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So don't do it. When I went to go buy a car and the guy told me, hey, yeah, I'll sell it to you, but go get me Walmart gift cards. That's a scam. Don't do it. But, we've seen all of those, but it gets much worse because that stuff can also lead to identity theft where then it really gets bad. And evidently this is identity theft action week. And that's why I've asked Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel to come share some thoughts and maybe how to protect ourselves, maybe how to stop this, and maybe how we start locking some of these bums up. Dana, thanks for taking time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rick.
So walk me through, because, like I said, we're all inundated with these con games, these schemes. This is big business, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's affecting more and more of us. And the latest estimates are just in the last year, 9% of all Americans were impacted by this. So I think we really have to start approaching identity theft, not as if this is going to happen to you, but when it happens to you, how do you react? And what we think is most important is not just the things that you can do after you already have been subjected to identity theft, but how to better protect yourself to make sure it doesn't happen in the first place.
Yeah. Now, explain me the difference because, I spent a lot of time playing with people, the Nigerian princes and the guy on Facebook who says, hey, send me $100 and I'll send you $1,500. I like playing with those people because I'm never sending them anything. But I figure if I waste enough of their time, they're not going after somebody else. There's that, which happens to a lot of people. We see horrible stories of, people, basically giving their life savings away because, hey, the granddaughter got into an accident. Go get me Walmart or eBay gift cards. This is different, isn't it? What you're talking about, identity theft, much, much, much worse, much, much different, right?
Yeah, it is. And because it's not just a matter of, just that handful of gift cards that you might purchase and lose. We're talking about somebody stealing your identity and then using all your personal information to create, whole accounts in your name to purchase vehicles or homes, or really to steal everything that you have in your bank account and your investment accounts. It's really serious and it can be incredibly devastating to people. But the good news is there are a lot of ways to identify identity theft and make sure that you don't fall victim for it. So we're really trying to encourage people to look for those red flags.
Right.
And I will say that, I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with Andy Cohen from Bravo Real Housewives, but, he's a pretty smart and sophisticated and savvy guy. And he just got taken for a whole lot of money in what was a really sophisticated scam that we're highlighting so that people are better aware of it. And what will happen is this. You will get a phone call or you'll get a text message or an email. Sometimes it'll be all three of those things saying that something urgent is happening. Maybe somebody has your information and is charging things to your credit card or is hacking into your accounts. And they'll tell you it's important that you immediately supply certain information. So they'll send you a link and they'll want you to go to that link and then put your personal information in there, or they'll just call you and pretend to be from your bank or your credit union or from some other company that you do business with and ask you for that personal information. And even though that's scary, what we're advising people to do is this, take a breath, get whatever information they're giving you, but don't provide your own information. Right. Hang up, don't respond to that link, and instead you call your bank directly and a number that you know is your bank, Or you call that business after you look up the number, not whatever number they just provided to you. They could be spoofed, could be not calling from really that number. And log on to the website that is that website, and then look at, is there a problem with your bank account? Are there any suspicious transactions? Or you call directly and you say, hey, it's me, it's Dana Nessel. I'm calling to ask, is there anything wrong with my account? And then they'll let you know. And that way you're not inadvertently talking to the scammer who's pretending that there's a problem with your account. Yeah. Only so that you'll provide your personal information.
No, that what you just said there is the most important part of it. Take a breath. Don't be caught up in the immediacy of the moment. And that's all of these scams. The second you step back and you go, wait a second, this doesn't sound right. This isn't how I've dealt with this in the past. Then all this stuff breaks that down. The second they get you all hyped up and, oh my gosh, what do I do? You're not really thinking things through clearly. So I think that's the best advice of all. But then again, back to what my grandfather always said, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. But this also, if they're providing you a link, never click on the link from anyone. I make sure I don't do that. But what do you do then if you did make the mistake? So, okay, I gave the information. I'm now regretting that what out of this. Now you've calmed down. You've taken that breath and you go, oh, I screwed up. What do you do?
Well, when you figure out, that terrible moment when you're like, wow, I provided information and now somebody has it. First of all, we really recommend that people go to a service where they can lock down their credit. And by locking down your credit, you're at least making sure that somebody can't be taking out a line of credit in your name. And, it's not very expensive. And it's one of these things where it just takes a minute if you want to unlock it. Let's say you do want to apply for a credit card or ask for a loan or something. It's only going to take you a minute to do it yourself. In this way, you can make certain that nobody is doing that in your name. You can also check your credit frequently, and it's free to do so. So you can see, are there any changes to your credit? What's happening? I make it a habit actually to regularly go online, log in and check my bank account information to see if there's any unusual transactions. Oftentimes what scammers will do is they'll start with a really minor transaction and maybe you pass over it and you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. It's just for $3.99 though. So I'm going to ignore it. Don't ignore it, because they're doing that as a way to sort of trick you to see if you are going to recognize it or respond. And the next charge is going to be a lot bigger. Right. So you might need to get a new credit card or debit card. I will say this as well. We really encourage people, if they can use credit cards instead of debit cards or Zelle or Venmo or something like that. The important thing is on a credit card, you can always challenge the transactions that are on there. And so, not everybody has the ability to establish good enough credit to have a credit card, but if you can, it really is the preferred method to keep you from losing a lot of money.
No, you're spot on, which is why, the PayPals and the Cash Apps and the store gift cards, that stuff's gone. Once it's done, it's in the wind. You're never getting it back. But a credit card, you can go back and challenge those. And that's an important part of all of this. So are you advocating, because I hear on the radio all the time, this company or this company, they've got the identity theft. Is that what we're advocating people to do and take that on?
It is a good idea. It honestly is. It's, I know that, I use one of those services and I get notified now every time. I mean, right away, they'll tell me if somebody, is trying to use my information for something. And again, they can't actually open up a credit line in my name because it is completely locked down. But, there's other things that people don't think of as well that are really important. And I know it seems simple, but, we get all kinds of financial information in the mail. It's very important to really shred that stuff before you put it in your trash. Somebody really might be going through your trash and finding that information. And we're really encouraging people, honestly, if you can, to stop using paper checks to pay for things. And maybe it's just because I'm old that I'm just used to doing that over the course of many years. But if you can pay online, we're seeing a lot of check theft lately. And if you are using paper checks, if you could try to not just put it in, sticking out of your mailbox at your house or your apartment and try to go to a postal box and put it right inside the box so that somebody can't just swipe that. Once they have swiped one of your checks, now they have all your checking account information.
They can print their own checks and yeah, no, um, another one of those things. Look, they're getting more creative because there are opportunities out there. So let me ask you, once, let's say we didn't take that deep breath at the beginning and fend them off right away. We gave them the information. They've stolen our identity. What recourse do we have? How do we recover from it? How does Mr. Cohen come back from losing millions, probably millions of dollars in an elaborate scheme? How do we get our name back? How do we get our good name back?
Well, in Michigan, what we have available to Michigan residents is, you can call us up and we actually have an entire unit of government called the Michigan Identity Theft Support System. And we assign you a caseworker and we really go step by step to help you rebuild your identity. And anybody can, by the way, go to our website and take a look, and we provide what those steps are. And that's good for virtually any state. But every state, of course, has a Department of Attorney General. And that's generally speaking the government body that assists with that. But you can also call the Better Business Bureau, and they will give you that information. There's a lot of agencies out there that will help you to restore your credit and to restore your good name. But again, the best thing that you can do is be proactive. But if something does happen, remember, the worst thing you can do is nothing at all. If you just sit there and you're embarrassed, you don't want to say anything, don't feel stupid, right? This can happen to the best of us. It happens to everyone. And you have to take, precautions, and you have to do something right away if you know that your identity has been stolen, because in the meantime, every day that you sit on it and you just don't do anything at all is a day that somebody might be using your personal information for something that's going to be really devastating to you.
It can only get worse. And the embarrassed part is one of those things that, I can't believe, we got scammed. And I remember, look, I was 19. I got caught at a con. A guy was selling what were supposedly Bose speakers out of the back of his van. And I gave him like $100 or something for him at the time, only to find out they weren't. They had the name on them. They weren't. But you learn those little lessons and you get bitten. And I wasn't embarrassed. I was angry. So this is one of those things that I think people need to get angry about. And as the Attorney General, I hope you get angry about it too. And we start locking some of these people up with real sentences, not just slaps on the wrists or, hey, pay a fine, but real, real jumpsuit kind of orange jumpsuits and gray bar hotel stays and stuff like that.
Well, we take that very seriously in Michigan. But the important thing to know is a lot of times these scams are coming from overseas. And that's not to say that, our partners with the FBI and Homeland Security and other agencies and task force aren't doing anything. But, it is harder, obviously, to apprehend somebody if this is coming in from Romania, right? And so that's why we want people to be aware of it. Also, just regular phishing scams are still out there. And what is that? You're going to get an email and it'll be from somebody that you're not sure who that is. And maybe it'll say, oh, there's an invoice, click on the invoice, you owe money. And of course, everybody wants to know, like, wait, who do I owe money to? But if you don't recognize that email, don't click on it, and be really careful before you click on anything in an email that's sent to you. You really have to verify the address that it's coming from. Remember, what scammers will intentionally do is they'll have an email address that is just slightly different than whatever the real address or the real website is. And they're very sophisticated. They'll have the actual name or email address of a company, but maybe there'll be an extra slash or hyphen or, a period or something. And so you have to be so careful when you're getting that kind of stuff in your email. And just not clicking on anything that's attached.
So last question I've got for you, and really quick, can you walk me through one of these? Just an example of one of the most common ones that are out there, so people know how to identify this stuff. From just real quick, from start to, hey, this is the contact, through what the verbiage may be, so people maybe get a little sense of awareness.
Yeah, well, it's the call that you get in. Or the text message or email saying that one of your accounts has been compromised and they need to verify your information. So you have to click on that link, or if it's somebody calling you, you have to provide to that individual who's calling certain information. But one caveat here to be really careful about, remember that artificial intelligence has become very dangerous in many ways. And you might get a call from someone and it sounds like somebody you know. It could be a friend or a family member or a neighbor or your pastor. And it might sound exactly like them. I'm not saying to be afraid of anybody that calls to talk to them, but if it's somebody all of a sudden who wants your social security number or your bank account number or your credit card information, and you didn't reach out to them, even if it sounds exactly like that person, say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a call back, and hang up and then call them directly. It might not be whoever they purport to be. It might be an artificial intelligence scam.
That is excellent. That is excellent advice, and thanks for putting something else into my head. A reason that I'm against the whole AI revolution. But Attorney General, I appreciate you taking some time. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Me too. Talk to you soon, Rick.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much. Attorney General Dana Nessel. Want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had something like this happen to you? I want to hear about it. Rick at thericksmithshow.com. Just wow. I got to tell you, amazing stuff.
We are AFGE. We support our nation's military and our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders and provide services to our nation's seniors across the country and here in Washington, D.C. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a man to test the will and goodness of a free people. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who failed in everything but theft and broken promises to live in a golden palace and convince the poor he serves their needs. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a wicked man to lead the common folk with hatred and fear. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a corrupt man who is above the law and immune from justice. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who will use violence to seize power. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man whose followers will call black white, call evil good, and call criminals hostages. So God made a dictator. God said, I need his political party to obey without question, and the press fear his wrath. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a cruel man who uses his power and position to punish and harm his opposition. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who breaks the faith of even his most godly followers and leads them to idolatry. Place him above me. So God made a dictator. And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
So to pick up on our conversation with Dana Nessel, I got to tell you, I've seen so many of those phishing emails and gotten so many calls. Hey, we got an urgent need for some information. And like she said, take a breath, relax, and then think about it. Would your bank call you out of the blue and say, hey, give us all of your personal information? Normally what I do is I say, tell me what you've got and I'll verify it for you. After all, you called me. And that usually gets people going, all right, well, we're gonna go on to another sucker. And look, there's scary stuff coming on down the road. And these people are clever. There's lots of money to be had, and I don't want anyone to be that story that we hear of. Just recently, a story came up at my bank where a guy came in and I was in the bank when it happened. He had gone and bought a bunch of store gift cards because I think a relative was supposedly in trouble, and he gave the gift cards that they had taken money out of the bank for, and he was trying to get the bank to do something, and the teller's like, I'm sorry, I wish I could help you. Had you mentioned to us at the beginning, we'd have told you that that's a scam. That if they needed money, you could have just given them the money. You could have done something, written them a check, something. Because police departments don't take Walmart gift cards. They don't take Subway gift cards. They don't take eBay Motor gift cards. They don't take any of that stuff. And, like she said, calm down, take a breath, and think about it. And before you give out any personal information, think very long and hard. Because I know a couple of people who've had their identities ripped off, and people have taken out loans and done some really shady stuff. It is a long, long way back. And speaking of shady stuff, the Know Nothing, Do Nothing party is at it again. Yes, the Republicans are at it again. And I think my quote of the day, and I've never been a huge Dan Crenshaw fan, but the Texas Republican, he's right here. He said the height of stupidity is having a strong opinion in something you know nothing about. He says, I'm extremely disappointed in the strange maneuvering by many on the right to torpedo a potential border reform bill if we have a bill that on net significantly decreases illegal immigration. And we sabotage that. He says that's inconsistent with what we told our voters we would do. And look, I would argue, killing the bill before you even know what's in it, before anything's in it that But again, the Know Nothing, Do Nothing folks, it's not about solving problems. It's about creating them. And no one better than that. And a perfect example. Globally, there's a push for a global corporate tax of 15%. We in this country have been pushing for that all across the globe to ensure everyone pays, so you can't run away from the U.S. and not pay taxes somewhere. And the idea is you're going to stay home. The idea is where you're building your wealth, you're going to be okay. So evidently, this 15% tax is going to happen in all of the countries around the world except for here, because evidently we didn't. We didn't change our tax law. And the Republicans are arguing that Biden gave away too much, so they're giving all of it away, which is the most know nothing, do nothing thing that you can come up with. And are you surprised? Because look, at the end of the day, while they scream about corporate tax cheats, and they scream about the billionaires, and now they care about the little guy, they say, what they do, I think gives it away. I think it gives it away. And speaking of know nothing, do nothing, or in this case, want to do something, but no, they can't, so ultimately do nothing. Evidently, Ilhan Omar, the Democrat from Minnesota, whom I'm not a huge fan of, I'm not, gave a speech. And she gave a speech to a room full of Somali supporters that evidently Republicans like Tom Emmer, the Republican from Minnesota, are calling anti-American. Now, again, this is, whatever you want. I believe what you want. Evidently, the transcript, not accurate. Because, how many Republicans speak Somali? I don't know. I can't imagine that any of them took that up in high school. And if they did, I'm going to assume they got some of it wrong. And maybe, who knows where the translation came from. Could have been Wikipedia, who knows, but it's wrong. It's inaccurate. It's all reporting is saying it's wrong. My favorite part of this, and look, maybe Ilhan Omar has said some things that you can view as un-American, but guess what? We are told we're a country of free speech. And I'm personally not going to defend anti-American speech, but it is the right of free speech if you're in that world. But I love the fact, and this is the part that's brilliant to me, that you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to censure Ilhan Omar for a report that was translated improperly, and she doesn't actually know what was said, and Representative Mike Collins, the two of them, they want to deport her over those comments, even though she is a U.S. citizen. Now this Remember, you got Marjorie Three Names who wants a national divorce, wants to break the country up into pieces, now wanting to deport U.S. citizens. And I'll tell you, this is very fascistic. This is who they are, and what they will do if you give them power. If you do something they don't like, what do you think they're going to do? They've shown their hand. Now, the question is, since they are the know nothing, do nothing party, is this just a matter of we need some attention? Someone needs to, show her a little loving. Maybe a pat on the head. I don't know. Maybe an atta girl, something. Or is this really, something that they want to do? I'm personally of the world, they just want attention. These are attention seekers. These are people who need to feel the glow of the spotlight. I just wish they would do it for things that mattered. That's all. I wish they would do it for things like, we have a high poverty rate for children in this country. Maybe we get that tax bill done that gets that child tax credit through, and make sure that we can put food on the table for kids. That sounds like a good idea. Something maybe to get worked up about. Something maybe that you might want to, actually put a little elbow grease into, put a little thought into, a little work. The fact that we got kids in high poverty areas that aren't getting the best education that they could, maybe working on that, maybe working on healthcare to ensure that every working person, every person in this country, doesn't die of preventable illness. Just kind of spitball in here. Maybe we do some better preventative care so that our healthcare system isn't as expensive and overworked. Just a thought, just throwing it out there. I mean, lots of things we could, should, and won't be doing. But this is just looking for clicks and views and looking for attention. And my problem with the know nothings and the do nothings is it's always about, hey, look at how little I know and do. Love me. It's kind of frightening. And this is where I keep coming back to. Come November, I'm hoping everyone remembers the know nothings and the do nothings and then sends them on the right way so they can know nothing and do nothing somewhere else. And we can put people into the halls of power like my buddy Andy Levin, who wants to actually help working people, who actually wants to help people's lives be better. I know, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Miss any portion of the program, grab the podcast. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.